Your husband is laying out on the front porch dying, and you're worried about the kids waking up?
I didn't want my kids to see my husband bleeding to death on the front porch, Mr. Smith.
Every time that I've talked to you, it's kind of been a different story about what happened that night.
This is 42-year-old Tia Young, and she has just made herself another suspect in the mysterious murder of her husband, George Young.
You were the mastermind behind all of this, and it was your idea because you wanted the $1 million life insurance policy, and he could take over.
Well, I don't give a shit if I don't ever get the money. I would never hurt or take anybody's life for no money.
In this video, we're taking you through the case of Tia and Tim Lee and how $1 million in an affair led to a terrible fate for her husband. In the late-night hours of November 16, 2017, the police responded to a shooting at a residence in Gwinnett County, Georgia.
County 911, what's the location of the emergency?
3196 Montauk Hill Drive, Beaufort, Georgia.
Okay, and what's going on there?
I just heard a gunshot.
Little did they know, they were on their way to the home of a household driven by a lethal combination of financial greed and a secret worth killing for. On arriving at the scene, the police and paramedics were met with a terrifying sight. Lying on the porch of his front door was a man splayed out on the floor with a bullet in his head. Tim Lee, at the time, another man who, oddly enough, lived at the same residence, was attempting chest compressions on the victim, while Tia stood by watching and panicking.
So I turned around and I see this guy, Tim. Never seen him a day in my life.
Everybody just seemed so shocked that he was living there. Nobody wanted to believe that Tim had been living in the house for long. There's no way he's been living under your roof and you've been in a relationship and you don't know that something was happening.
The victim, who would soon be identified as 43-year-old George Young, had just returned to his home after working late at night as a security guard. He had been shot directly in the head after unlocking his front door, an injury so catastrophic that death was almost certain. The police hit the ground running with their investigation, but they faced one significant challenge: determining the motive.
This guy's character was superb, man. He didn't hang out, he didn't do none of that stuff.
Everyone they spoke to who was close to Tim spoke highly of him. The question remained, who stood to gain from the death of a man who seemingly had no enemies?
Alright, Will. Again, I'm Detective Smith. This is Sergeant Rao.
Hey, John Rao, nice to meet you.
We're working the case together, so he's going to sit in.
Okay.
And your last name is C-U-R-L-I-N?
That's correct.
Okay. What's your date of birth?
62.
And what's your address?
9005 Greystone Road, Greystone, one word, Jonesboro, 30238.
Right. Okay. So I know we spoke on the phone. You said you wanted to come down and talk. And I was going to reach out to you guys anyway because I wanted to get up there, but it's just trying to get everything coordinated.
Throughout their investigations, the police made startling discoveries after speaking with one person who George was close to, George's boss and ex-military veteran Willie Curlin. The two were incredibly close, with Curlin describing George as one of his best friends. In fact, that morning, hours before his death, George was in Curlin's office. Curlin states that George was there to pick up some service tickets and equipment, as he did regularly. However, Curlin's suspicions began to arise the morning following the murder, when Tim Lee visited his office with a coldly pragmatic request. He was there for a job, having previously served as a technician under George's supervision. Clearly, he had no remorse for what had just happened with George, which is why he was more concerned about his own bills to pay.
So what prompted me to want to talk to you is that how I found out about his death. I'm in my office at 8 o'clock on Friday morning. I'm just getting in there, and my staff is in there at 8 o'clock. I have about 10 coordinators that sits outside of my office, and they all, be in at 8 o'clock. So I'm in my office, I'm logging on my computer, and I hear somebody say, Willie. So I turned around and I see this guy, Tim. Never seen him a day in my life. So I was kind of the way he looked.
You've never seen Tim before?
Never seen Tim. Didn't even know Tim. I knew George had a couple of technicians working for him, but I never met any of them. So the first time I ever met Tim and this guy, David, for the first time was on Friday. But Tim came alone at 8 o'clock that morning. He was already there. So I don't know if he was sitting out in the parking lot because I came in a little early. So by the time I got in my office and started, logging on my computer, is when he just appeared in my office. And, we have strict rules. We don't let anybody in our building. So I was automatically pissed off because I wanted to know who let this guy in. Because the way I looked at this guy, when I looked at him, I noticed I didn't know him. my first instinct was to stand up from behind my desk because I didn't know what, and the way he was looking, he looked, eyes bugged. And by him calling out my name, I was like, I don't know this guy. So I said, man, who are you? He said, my name is Tim. I said, who are you? What can I do for you? He said, I work with George. I said, George who? He said, George Young. I said, okay, so what can I do for you? He said, I got bad news. And then he was having problems communicating. He was trying to get something out, but he couldn't really get it out for a minute. And so then he told me, he said, man, George was killed last night. And I said, what, man? George Young? Couldn't believe it, man. So, I'm like, it took me a minute to process that. And I was like, are you kidding me, man? And I said, what happened? He said, well, I was there, man, and I heard the gunshots and stuff. So he proceeded to tell me everything as far as his recollection of whatever he wanted to tell me.
Okay.
So he said, before we got into that conversation, I said, well, listen, man, because I knew how this was going to affect my whole staff and everybody in my division. I said, hey, give me a second, man. I said, let me, gather myself, and then I want to get my staff together, and I want to let them know. I said, have a seat out here, and I'll come back and get you in about 10 minutes. So I had some of my coordinators get all this division in this conference room. So I went in there, and I kind of said, I got some bad news, and I told them that George was murdered last night, and everybody just went crazy. So then I proceeded to get this guy back in my office, and I said, so man, what happened? So he said, man, I was downstairs working on my laptop, and I heard 2 gunshots. And he said he came to the door, and he looked out, and he didn't see nobody. So he said then he looked down, and he saw George on his back. So he told me that he went from there upstairs and get his weapon. Came back downstairs. No, he went upstairs and got his weapon, and then he said he woke George's wife up and told her to call 911. So he said that once he got outside, they was on the phone with 911, and they was asking him to check for a pulse. So he said he checked for a pulse. There was no pulse, and he told me that there was a neighbor across the street or next door that heard the gunshots too, and she happened to be a nurse, and she came over, and they was trying to administer CPR on her. So I'm sitting here listening to this, and then I said, so he said that, I said, man, don't nobody, George, he ain't into no kind of criminal activity at all, I can tell you that for sure. Dude didn't drink, barely drink, didn't smoke, didn't hang out. I knew about his little side business, and that wasn't really one of those, and I knew it couldn't have had nothing to do with this little concert thing that he worked. Typically, he don't work those little jobs on the weekday. He normally does those on the weekend. And so how he got into that is there's one of his partners that they had decided they wanted to do something like that, and they have done it for some of my employees that women call themselves having a girls' night out, and so they would provide transportation, escort them in the club, stand around, wait, make sure nobody bothering them, get them back to the car safely and all that kind of stuff. So I had expressed to George my concerns about that, because I said, George, man, I said, listen, man, I said, I said, man, I spent 10 years in the military, dude. I said, you ain't street smart, which he wasn't. He was very naive to the streets. He didn't have any military training. He didn't have any police training. And I said, man, these people out here in these streets, man, these are killers out here, man, these streets. And with you being experienced, because he ain't the kind of guy that would be checking, scanning the sector, making sure that, ain't nobody get up on it. Because he just went street smart like that. He was just a friendly, nice guy, would do anything for anybody. So he told me, Tim said, well, listen, man, he said, well, I said, well, you was there? Because I'm wondering what the hell you doing there that time of night, because George wasn't no party animal or nothing like that. So he said, well, man, I had got into a bad situation at one time, and I was living from hotel to hotel. And he said, and George found out I was living in a hotel. He told me I can come stay with him. Led me to believe that this was a short-term stay. I wasn't expecting it for, I'm thinking a couple of months or whatever. And so things just wasn't adding up, man. The way he was looking, and what really made me want to talk to you guys is because his behavior, man. So after he tells me all this information, I dismissed him about 8:30, because one of my, LaTanya, was close to George. Most of my coordinators are. George was a Jehovah's Witness. I have another coordinator that's very close to George. They go back years. They go to the same place to worship. She's a Jehovah's Witness as well. Her name is Shirley Green. So I said, you know, I had to take LaTanya home because she just fell apart. And I dismissed him about 8:30. So she lives in Douglasville. So by the time I got all the way up there with traffic and got back to the office, it was almost 12 o'clock. It took me about a 3-hour round trip. So as soon as I pull up, this guy's still here. He's in my parking lot. So I'm saying, what the hell this guy's still hanging around for, you know? Because first thing was, when him coming there at 8 o'clock in the morning, he just witnessed this, I just couldn't believe that Ackerman would be the first place this guy would want to come. And he was telling me, well, man, I need to keep, you know, I got bills to still pay and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, I don't want to hear that shit. My best friend just got murdered and you telling me you looking for work, man? And I didn't know nothing about him. I didn't know what his skill set was, any of that. I just knew that George had a couple technicians that he had working for him. Typically, these guys just pull wire. They didn't know any programming or anything like that. They're not, you know, they're not high-level technicians. They just like green guys that just pull wire and stuff. So I'm like, this dude coming in my office talking about he need work and he got to still pay his bills, and my guy just got murdered and he was there. So when I got back to the office, like I said, I couldn't believe the guy was still hanging around. Why ain't you with the family trying to console these people that you've been living with? You know, and if George let him in his house, he had to trust the guy, obviously. I had just sent George to Miami 3 weeks prior. So and he was there for 3 days. So this guy living in the house with his family and his wife, I couldn't believe that because George had never mentioned this guy to me. He never even told me that this guy was living with him. I didn't even know the guy by name. I just knew that he had a couple of technicians working for him. So, okay, my boss is the president of commercial. So after I dismissed him and I came back and he was there, I said, hey man, what's up? I said, I told you to come back and see me Monday. You know, I'm expecting him to get off the premises. I said, I told you, you know, come back and see me Monday at 10 o'clock. I'll talk to you and we'll see what we can do for you after that. Because at that time, I hadn't really ruled out not letting him finish this school that they was working on with supervision from one of my project managers. But, so I walked away from him in the parking lot again.
So I'm sorry, let me clarify for a second. So you come back and he meets you in the parking lot?
He meets me in the parking lot, but this time he has this guy, David, with him that I have never seen either. So I'm meeting David for the first time. So I said, well, David, you know, I've already had a conversation with Tim. I said, at this point, this is early on in the process. I really don't know you guys. I don't know what your skill sets are. Come back and talk to me Monday at 10 o'clock, and then we'll see which direction we want to go with you guys.
So did he meet you in the parking lot twice or just once?
Just the one time.
So when you came back from taking LaTanya home, Tim and David were waiting in the parking lot?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, so I leave them in the parking lot. Next thing I know, somehow they end up back in the building, both of them. So my boss, which is the president, he said, Willie, who is these guys? Because, you know, we don't like people that we don't know just walking in our building.
How do people get in your building?
There's two ways they can get in. The proper way to get in is to go to the front office and they sign you in and they give you a badge, a visitor badge, and you escorted. If somebody's coming to see me, I go down and I pick them up and bring them to my office. The other way is because we got a lot of contractors, but most of our contractors are people that have been working with us for years, so we know them by face, so we use an A-phone system that has a monitor on it. They ring the buzzer, you can see who it is, and then you can talk to them, and then you can release the door for them to come in. So
is that how they got in?
I don't know how that's how he had to obviously get in the first time.
Okay.
The second time, I don't know if he followed somebody in or, which is another no-no. We tell our employees, you don't let somebody follow you in unless they got identification. You check the identification before you just let somebody walk in with you. Because we got a lot of temps that works in the central station. So I'm very up on making sure that we follow protocol because it's life safety, man. Our building is wide open. If we get a disgruntled employee to come in there, there's nothing to stop somebody from walking in. It's an employee or a temp, and just go start raining down on everybody. I mean, it's a bad situation, to be honest with you, for a security company.
Yeah.
So anyway, to make a long story short, my boss said, hey, Willie, who is these guys? I said, man, those are George's techs. And he said, bring him in, I want to talk to him, right? Because at first, everybody was kind of embracing him in a way because we thinking, dang, man, they work for George, they got to be shaken up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we come in my boss's office. It was my boss and myself and David and Tim. So Tim started telling the story all over again to my boss and stuff. I was there when it happened, and then he proceeded to tell me that he had been living with George for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, how in the hell could this guy be living with George for 2 years, man? I'm with George. George is in my office at least 2-3 times a week. Me and him go so far back, and we're very close. George has never mentioned this guy. I knew his wife. I knew his sister. I knew everything about his family. His mother-in-law, his father-in-law killed himself one time when I first came to Ackerman. His mother-in-law and father-in-law was living with him, and father-in-law hung himself in the house. Mm-hmm. I know that his wife had lost like 2 or 3 kids back to back. Mm-hmm. So this was early on in our relationship, when I first met George. This was years ago. So I knew that there had been some turmoil in the family, but I knew everything, about his family members, his dad, and all that stuff. So he said that he'd been living there for 2 years, and I was like, damn, man, this guy's been there for 2 years. So he went on to tell us, well, what's going on? The same thing he told me. Mm-hmm. He was telling my boss, he went upstairs, he woke Tia up and told her to call 911, but then I heard a different interview on the TV this weekend that led me to say that, man, I need to call him because this ain't sounding right. And from what I've seen in him, mm-hmm. don't look right. And then at the end of the day, after him talking to me and my boss for like maybe a good 30 minutes, I look out my window, it's 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the afternoon. I look out my window, he's still out in the parking lot. So I'm saying, what is this guy doing? My mind is going to a different place because I'm saying, what is this guy doing? Come here at 8 o'clock in the morning, just experience what he experienced, and then he's hanging out in the parking lot all day. Mm-hmm. I'm expecting, I would be at the house and I would be trying to console his family because he was telling me and my boss, and yeah, the kids, they call me Uncle Tim. Tia's mother, she loves me. I've been knowing Tia and George before they got married, so I didn't know how far they went back. And so my boss was over talking, saying, hey man, we want to take care of you guys. George was our guy. If George trusts you, we trust you. We're family. But at the same time, my boss and I hadn't had a chance to talk because I'm feeling something whole different. Mm-hmm. So I kept telling my boss, man, hold up, we need to talk. So I got these guys, told them, go sit in my office, I'll come get you in a second. So I went ahead and brought my boss up to speed. And so in the meantime, while my boss was promising everything, yeah, we're gonna look out for you. If you guys need a vehicle, we got company vehicles we can put you in and all this other stuff. So after I started telling him, and so my boss said, well, let me ask you this though. How's your guys' background? What's your background look like? The guy Dave said, man, my background is clean. This guy Tim says, man, I got a charge, and it was for carrying a concealed weapon back in 2005 or whatever date he said. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of giving me more suspicion. And just the way this guy's behavior was, his mannerisms, he was jittery. When he first came in my office, eyes bucked. And that's why I got into defensive posture because I'm saying, this guy's up in my office, he's looking crazy. I don't know who the hell this guy is. So it just ain't sitting right with me, man.
Did that look in his eye change from the time you saw him in the morning until the time you saw him in the afternoon at lunchtime?
Actually,
still
to me it did.
Okay.
To me it did. But to my boss was saying, man, this guy was just looking clean through me, man. He said, something ain't right with this guy. And this is just, my boss seen him for about 20, 30 minutes.
When you said that the story he told you was different than what you saw in the news.
Yeah, because from what I saw on the news, Tia was saying that she heard the gunshots. Mm-hmm. And she went to her brother's room and he wasn't there. And then, I remembered he was downstairs working on his laptop. So that sounded to me like they had collaborated a story. And then this just me being a play cop, man, mm-hmm. I guess. So I was like,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so I'm like, so maybe they collaborated a story because that ain't what this dude told me. He told me he went upstairs and woke Tia up and told Tia to call 911. Tia saying that she went to his room, he wasn't there, and then she realized that he's downstairs working on the laptop. And I'm saying, how in the hell could somebody get that close up to George? How did they know what time that he was going to be home? Because he don't typically work those hours during the weekday. So me knowing George probably called his wife and said, hey, I'm on my way. For this person seemed to have been waiting on him at the house. This to me was a hit, and I'm sure you guys can probably agree, this was a hit. And I was like, man, George didn't have any enemies, man. I'm telling you. And I know you guys have done your investigation, and everybody that you talked to have told you how outstanding of a guy this guy was. Mm-hmm. This guy's character was superb, man. He didn't hang out, he didn't do none of that stuff. So for somebody to want him dead that bad, I just can't believe there's anybody out there that's walking the face of the earth that didn't have a reason. I mean, they had to have a reason to kill him. This wasn't no accident. The only thing what I was thinking in my mind was, maybe this hit was meant for Tim. Mm-hmm. I don't know his background. I don't know what he does. I don't know nothing about him. So I'm saying, what, was this the wrong guy? Because this guy Tim is tall, George is tall. I'm saying, was this the hit was intended for Tim? It just don't make no sense to me, man. And I just can't. The one thing that really bothered me was the fact that he spent the whole day standing around in my parking lot from 8 o'clock in the morning. And the last time, and I don't know what time he left, but the last time I physically seen him was 3:30 in the afternoon.
Did you ever talk to him again to see why he was still out there?
No.
Do you guys have exterior security cameras?
Yes.
Okay.
This behavior disregarded workplace safety, personal, and professional boundaries. But what Kerlin was more concerned with was a mismatch between the story Tim told him and what he heard on the news. Here is Tia's statement in her interview when she was asked about the night of the murder.
Hey, wait.
Yeah.
It's cold in this one.
It is.
It's burning up down there. So, like I said, the reason I brought you back in here today is I have follow-up questions. I kind of want to go over it again because that's just at the point that we're at now. That's been a couple months. Sometimes bringing people back in and going over the story helps us find if there was something you didn't remember the first time. The thing is with it, the first time we talked and then you came up here and then we talked to you at the house, and I understand that there were some issues with that. It had gotten pretty confrontational, I guess, the way that some people had talked to you, right, at the house?
Yes, very.
Okay. One of the things is that when we bring people in over and over, obviously I know that because of the things we were going, because of the suspected relationship between you and him, because of all of those things, you were listed, as a suspect, but you knew that, right?
I found out through, yeah.
Okay. You found out through where?
Mutual of Omaha. They sent me.
Oh,
they sent
okay.
a letter every month.
Oh, okay. So because of that, like I said, I want to go over this with you again today and ask you this, but because we've already kind of come at you hard and talked to you and all that kind of stuff, and I just did the same thing with Tim in there. I have to talk to you. Is that I'm gonna have to read you your rights, okay? I don't have a warrant for you right now or anything like that, but to continue talking because it's the fourth time I've talked to you, I have to read it to you, okay?
Okay.
All right. So I was talking to him and he said that you still hadn't found a job, right? Okay. How's that been?
I just not gotten any calls
Okay.
for anything.
Are you just applying for like medical positions or?
Mostly doctor's office and hospital.
Okay.
I've had a few coworkers trying to help me get on at their facility, but the fact that I was terminated in September, that doesn't help when they go to check a reference.
Okay. Did they not give you the option to resign, or did they terminate you before you ever
No,
got?
I wouldn't even. They terminated me on my day off.
Oh yeah.
By phone.
By phone? They called you or they texted you?
They called me.
I was about to say if they text you, that's pretty. So what I want to do today is just kind of walk back through what you can remember. Sometimes over time, people remember things that they didn't remember the first time. I'll help kind of jog your memory as we go of things that you told me. Maybe you'll tell me something you didn't remember the first time, okay? So just start out that night. I know that you said you had gone or you were in bed. Were you like in a deep sleep, or were you just kind of sleeping, or what was going on then?
As far as I remember, I was in a deep sleep.
Okay. And then what happened?
I heard two loud noises. I wasn't sure if it was firecrackers or what it was. I sat up on my bed, looked around. My baby boy was still asleep. If I remember correct, I think I went to Tim's room, but he wasn't there. His light was on. Then I remembered he was downstairs on the computer, on a laptop, at the table. I don't think I went to my mom's room right away. I think I went downstairs to where he was. And I think as I got almost down to the bottom step, he was coming up.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me, did I hear it? I said, yeah, I heard it. He said, it sounded like shots. I said, I'm not sure if it was shots or firecrackers or what it was, because some people in our neighborhood that are new, they periodically do firecrackers for whatever reason. I think at that point he said he was going to go get his gun, go up to his room, go down and check, see. I remember him opening the door, shutting it pretty quick, telling me to call 911.
And that's when he told you that George was out there. Okay.
And I called 911. The lady goes through the whole thing. What's your emergency? And then I told her that my husband we heard gunshots, and my brother opened the door and said that it was my husband. She needed to know, I think, where the shots were is what she needed to know. And yeah, that's the first thing she asked. I told her I couldn't do it. I couldn't go down there. So she said, is there anybody that can? I said, my brother. So he looked, told me what he thought he saw. So I relayed it to her. Then she wanted me to do CPR. I don't know CPR, first of all, and if I did, I don't think I'd have been able to gather myself to do it. I don't know. I could have, but I don't think so.
Okay.
So she asked me, is there anybody that could? I asked Tim, could he do it? He said, yeah. At some point, I remember throwing my phone down so he could talk to the operator. And then at some point, I don't remember, at some point I went and got my mom. She wasn't asleep, I thought she was. She was in the room with the TV up loud.
Okay. So you were sleeping, you heard these shots, you come down, Tim's sitting at the table, you ask him if he heard that. He's like, yeah, he heard that. Did he go check out the door first, or did he go get his gun first?
If I remember right, I thought he went upstairs to get his gun first, but I didn't actually watch him go in there and get it.
Okay.
I think I remember him going up the steps heading to his room, but I can't swear to it.
Okay, and you were on the platform?
Catwalk.
Oh, you were upstairs? On the catwalk thing?
Yeah, by the time he went down to check on George, that's where I was standing.
So he goes outside, he opens the door, he sees it's George, and I know at some point he put his gun up. When did he do that?
I don't know. I don't know if it was after. I don't know if it was after emergency people got. I don't know. I really can't be honest. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay. So he goes outside. At some point, he puts his gun up. He sees George, and he tells you, it's George and whatnot. And then is that when he tells you to call 911, or did you ever go down to the door, or no?
No, hell no. No, I never went to the door.
Okay.
I stood up at the top where you could see over the thing.
Okay.
All I could see was like his feet and legs on the door open.
Okay. And when you went and woke your mom up, what did you tell her?
But she wasn't asleep when I went.
Or when you went?
Yeah, I just said something bad has happened to George. Mommy, something bad has happened to George. And of course she sat straight up. What do you mean, or what are you talking about? And I said, Mommy, George has been shot. And she said, no. I think she might have asked me first, is it a car? Did he have a wreck or what? Because she knew he was working at night with Rob. And I said no, and by then I think I was breaking down. And I said, Mommy, George was shot. And she said, where is he, at the Lennox thing? I said, no, he's at the front door. And of course I wasn't that calm, but she couldn't hardly digest it. So we walked out of the room. She stood with me on the little balcony thing, and I'm telling her, I'm walking her basically through what I'm telling you. She stayed fairly calm. I think she was in shock, just like I was. But she could see Tim down there. Like I said, you can see George's legs and feet from that angle, but that's all you could see. We could tell Tim was on his knees. I don't know. I think we just both just stood there in shock.
Yeah.
I think she was standing next to me whenever I threw my phone down, I think, but I can't remember. I know at one point I had to throw my phone down for 911 to talk to him about the CPR.
Do you ever remember him leaving the area right there with George to go anywhere else out in the yard or anything like that?
Not that I remember, but I do know at one point I did go pee in my bathroom.
Okay.
So, but where that fell into it, I honestly couldn't tell you.
Okay. All right. Have you talked to Willie or any of those people from Ackerman since?
The last time I talked to Willie was it the day of the funeral? I think the day of the funeral. I haven't talked to
Okay.
anybody.
All right.
I was a little disappointed. They
Yeah.
didn't reach out hardly at all.
Okay. I remember they said something about a donation or fund or something like that. We had talked when we first talked. Did they ever do anything like
they
that?
never did do one.
Okay.
They didn't. They may have sent a flower, but I never even saw a flower.
Okay.
I saw some things from Salvation Army, which he did a lot of work for. Macy's with Rob sent flowers. Ackerman, to my knowledge, the only thing they did was the 150 obituaries, and we paid for another 100 to be done.
Okay.
But they contributed 100. I think it was 150.
Okay.
But that was it.
I think when I was talking to Tim, he had said that, because I kind of talked about how everybody just seemed so shocked that he was living there and nobody wanted to believe that Tim had been living in the house for long. And I guess, is it Marjorie? Is that his mom's name?
George's
Kind
mom.
of, yeah, stood up for
She
Tim
did.
and said, no, I knew that he had
Yeah,
been living
I didn't
here.
know. She told him, I think, 2 or 3 months before. But
Okay.
that didn't come out till a few days after he died. She actually brought up that she knew it.
Okay.
He told her.
What is your opinion? Why do you think George kept that from everybody? Because that seems to be a huge issue for everybody.
I
that they
think
don't
because
understand.
George is very private, very, very private.
Mhm.
I know at one point he did stay early in the game. He didn't never sit down with me and the kids and say, don't tell nobody.
Mhm.
But he did mention that he wasn't going to mention it to Rob or anyone right then because he said he didn't want to embarrass Tim or make it look like this man can't even afford to have a place to lay his head.
Mhm.
But it wasn't like a family discussion that nobody better not tell that he lives here, nothing like that.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Like I said, I thought Rob knew after February made 2 years that Tim was here. So I guess when George died, it was 18 months or something like that.
Mhm.
But I just assumed Rob knew. I thought at some point George probably told him. I never knew that he didn't tell him. I didn't know until that night that Rob flipped out and was just like, I didn't know you stayed here.
Mhm.
I never knew that he didn't tell his family until they cut up when they got there. But like I said, we've had people live with us before, not in this house. Me and George have taken in, I think Tim is the 4th person, not counting my mom.
Mhm.
When we were married a little less than a year, we lived in Myrtle Beach in a 1-bedroom apartment. A girlfriend of mine got put out, her and her baby. We took her in. She stayed 6 months. Slept on the couch in the living room. After her, I think a year later, another girlfriend with her 2 children stayed with us. So we've taken in, that's just, we hear people in need, but that's just what we've always done.
Okay.
I think the longest we've had anybody stay is Tim, but the 2 females, and I'm talking about in Myrtle Beach, one I think was 6 months and one was 9. And that was in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Okay. So you've talked to Rob.
But about the case, nothing about the case, because he made it clear before his surgery he had to remove himself from any stress dealing with this, any stress from his business. He's got even Ray, I think Ray, his partner, is taking care of the business until I think he's recovering for 10 to 12 weeks. So that's when he told me, look, I know you don't like dealing with the detectives. I know you're trying to stay out of it because of what went down, but you're going to have to step up because I can't do it. I can't risk my health, my recovery. And I'm not heartless, so I understood, and that's when I started reaching out. But until then, I just didn't, because I will say you to me were never nasty to me. I felt like you were doing your job. The other ones probably were doing their job too, but the way the black gentleman talked to me in my yard that night, they followed us home from here. The way he talked to me, that's probably part of the job too. I don't know. But for somebody to stand in my face and tell me that, I've been doing this blah, blah, many years, I don't remember how many he said, 20, I don't know. And I can look at you and I tell you, full of shit, you're a fucking liar. That did something to me because I was going through enough as it is, but for you to talk to me like that in my yard, and it was people on the porch, like, that's part of what sparked this beef with me and my husband's family. And then the way the lady, the female, talked to me in the car when it was with me and you, I think it was when she came back in the house and got me. I just was to the point, I told Rob, you can deal with them, I'm not dealing with them. They made it clear they don't believe a fucking word that I say. They think everything I say is a lie, so there's no need for me to talk to them. If you want to deal with them, you deal with them. Until then, if they don't contact me, I'm not contacting them. And so that's when Rob said, well, I don't mind. I will do that. I'll be kind of the correspondent between the two. But when he had to step out, he had to. So.
Okay. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, obviously, is I've talked to Tim, and one of the things that, I'll just be honest with you, in the beginning, issues with him is, we had talked to you, and you had told us what you had told us, and there was, I won't say there was much to that, but Tim just seemed there was a lot more confrontation going on with him during the first interview and talking to him the day that you guys came up there, because of that whole tracker thing, which you said you didn't know.
Yeah,
so
George
there was
came to
some
me
kind of-
about it, but like I said, I never knew it was actually purchased and the whole nine. But
Okay. So did you know the night that happened, before whatever was going on with you and Tim, that he had gone and retrieved that off the car?
no, not until you told me.
Okay.
I think it was the night I was here on the 18th.
What do you think about that? I mean, why
Well,
would
when
he?
you said it, I was floored because, like I
Yeah.
said, first of all, I didn't even realize the tracker was ever purchased. And then when you told me that a neighbor or somebody saw him take it off, I found it really strange, and I even asked him about it later.
And what did he
I didn't
say?
ask him about it that night. He said with what George had going on or whatever about, remember when I told you the guy who came to town? He said he just didn't want, I guess, George, I think he said he just didn't want George being exposed in a bad light or something like, I don't know, something like that. But I haven't asked him anything about it since.
Tim was caught on camera and seen by the Youngs' next-door neighbor, who says that after hearing gunfire that night, he looked out his window, only to see who he believed was Tim in George's driveway. The neighbor claims he watched the man move something from the car, then run back to the house. This happened just before George was given CPR. Tia claims to know nothing about this incident. Tim agreed with the neighbor's statement and claimed that George had asked him to place the GPS tracker on his car for safety, and that he removed the tracker to protect George. He claimed George had been smuggling guns from Florida to North Carolina, and that a man involved had come looking for him. In a desperate bid to mask his tracks, Tim chose to assassinate George's character long after he had assassinated the man himself.
Did you feel like that was, and I just want your opinion on it because I'll tell you how it looks to us. Do you think that was weird that in the moment that his friend is laying out on the front porch bleeding out, his first thought is to go to the car and pull that off instead of rendering aid to George?
Yeah, I found that weird. And that was before he did CPR?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I found that strange.
Okay.
Weird. Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously I do. That's why I don't know.
Yeah.
We asked him, and he admitted that he went and did it, and he didn't have a good answer. He didn't really have an answer as to why. He said he didn't want you to find it or the family to find it, and they would know. But I said it's under the car. Who's going to look under the car? That's weird.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, let me just ask you: do you think that have you ever felt that he may have been involved in this in any way?
I don't. I mean, I know that part of it doesn't add up at all. But I personally, the only reason I don't, well, not the only reason, but I just never seen any beef between the two of them at the house. I've never heard George, and me and George had a really good relationship as far as he would tell me about stuff that went on, or he got into it with somebody at Ackerman, or whatever. But he never mentioned to me ever that they had a beef, disagreement. Like I said, even Tim went to him several times about, I can go ahead and leave now. You gave me 6 months. You told me after 6 months. George came to me. You want him to go? Are you cool with it? I mean, it's a help to us because he's paying rent. And then at the end of the year, he came to George again. Do you want me to go? And George came to me and was like, what do you think? Because I'm cool with him being here. I go out of town so much. I feel better with him here. So it's like George never let on that he had a beef or was threatened or scared of him. Or I just never witnessed anything. And the kids haven't. And as far as I know, my mom has it. So I just, that part doesn't make sense.
Do you
Why he didn't
think
want to
he
hurt
was
him.
jealous over the position that he wasn't making as much money as George?
I don't
or?
think it was that because he was making good. Like George started him, I think, at 23 an hour. I think it was 23, and his first raise was up to like 26. So I don't think it was that. And I know there's been several times George couldn't make payroll, and he had to go to David and Tim and can I give you half or 1,000, and I pay you the rest. And they've always said yes every time. Never know. He's never come back and told me, oh my God, Tim is hot. Or David is pissed. And then he's borrowed money from Tim before. And Tim told him, pay me back when you can. He's fixed my car several times because George didn't have the money, neither did I. And he just told George, pay me when you can. It's fine. And to my knowledge, George has paid him back every time.
Okay.
Now I know this last time, I think the last time I got it fixed was in October. That was a transmission. I think it was like over $2,300. I don't think we finished that off yet. I think we gave him maybe 13 of it. But George was in the process between the two of us paying it back.
Okay.
But that's the only part I don't know. If I had something to go on, something I've seen, it's just nothing.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll kind of just go into what I have, okay? So after talking to him, and I've talked to David multiple times, and then I talked to Tim again today, okay? I tell you right now, I have a whole lot of stuff that points to Tim had something to do with it, okay? and I know him and David were good friends and some stuff was going on. I went over there and just talked to him now, and obviously you guys knew you were coming up here and I wanted to follow up with him, but that's because I knew I was going to talk to him about the stuff that I had found, okay? I'll say that conversation went pretty quickly, okay? There's not a whole lot that he was going to be able to deny, okay? So I'm telling you that the investigation shows that he had something to do with it. The interesting part, though, is that he implicated you in it. He said you guys were in a relationship and that you were the mastermind behind all of this, and it was your idea because you wanted the $1 million life insurance policy,
That's
and he could take over George's job,
That's a
and
lie.
you guys would be set to be together,
That's-
and that was the whole deal.
Well, I can tell you that's a lie. That's
Okay.
a lie.
So I
I
want to
can't-
hear from you the truth and what was really going
That's
on,
some-
because if that's what he's telling me and I already know he's involved, you see how it
That's-
makes it look?
Yeah, but that's bullshit. I can tell
Okay.
you that's bullshit.
Okay, well tell me
I
why.
don't, first of all, like I said, I don't know that he's involved. I don't know anything about what happened that night. Nothing.
Well, listen,
I didn't even know the policy was any good until me and Rob called a couple days later.
Okay.
So first of all, I'm used to struggling.
Mhm.
Me and George have struggled our entire marriage financially. I would never hurt or take anybody's life for no money.
Mhm.
And like I said, first of all, I know at one point George had $1 million one, a 450, and then I had a 250 on me.
Mhm.
I knew he had at some point dropped mine.
Mhm.
I didn't know he dropped the 450 until me and Rob started our calls and found out one was no good and the other one was.
Mhm.
But him taking over the business, I know nothing about that.
Okay.
That was never a discussion we had.
One of the things that Ivy said was you told her that there was the $1 million policy way earlier last year.
Who?
Ivy.
Me and Ivy have never discussed an insurance
Okay.
policy, never. Now George told me at some point that Ivy knew about it. Him and Ivy were very close, and she used to work for George remotely from Myrtle Beach. She could log on and do work for him. So at one point, I don't know, I think it was a couple years ago, he said that an email that I guess the insurance company sent him, Ivy saw it, or I don't know, she could access I think she could access his massive email. And so he told me, he said, now Ivy knows about the insurance, policies that we have, but me and Ivy have always been close. I was closer to her than any of the other ones. So even when he mentioned to me that she knew about it, I was cool with it. I mean, that's fine. We were close, so I didn't care that she knew. But like I said, I knew he had a policy, but I didn't know it was active because I knew he had dropped one, I don't know, earlier last year. So I didn't know if any of them were any good. I didn't.
Okay.
So no conversation ever went on about no insurance, him taking over no business or none of that. That's bullshit.
Okay.
I don't even know why he'd say that because that never happened.
I guess obviously the concern is, I'm telling you, the thing with him is he got the tracker, he got it. He had tried to put some apps on George's phone before then, and he said George knew about those. I know for a fact George didn't know because I have his text messages where he explained to George that it was Xena, that Xena was trying to do that to him. But I know for a fact they only were signed up through his phone because I could tell that he did that. So he was trying to find ways to track George, and George didn't know it, which is why I have a hard time believing about him knowing that the tracker was going to be on the car, because he didn't know about the other stuff on the phone. Because why would you explain to him Xena did it and explain it away if he knew that's what you were trying to do? You would just tell him, this is what I'm doing. Because when he downloaded those apps, it sends a notification to the person you're trying to track. So George was like, why am I getting this notification? You're trying to track my phone. And he said, oh, well, Xena's been trying to track me, which is not true.
Okay, yeah, this is new to me.
Also, he was looking at that app for the tracker, which in his words is only supposed to be in case something was going to happen to him, to find the truck, not him, which is weird that you're only worried about the car and not him. And if he was looking at it from the day that he bought it on the 6th, he was looking at it every single night. And he was looking at it the night before George came home.
You saw the night of the 16th?
Mm-hmm.
So the tracker sends a message to his phone? I mean, I'm confused.
Okay, so a couple of days prior to the murder, earlier in the month of November, he tried to download these apps on your phone, just like an iPhone app or a Samsung Android, I'm not sure how that one works, where you can track somebody's phone. Well, when you do that, you're not allowed to do that without their permission. So when you put in that person's number that you want to track, it sends them a notification. I have it on George's phone where he got the notification and then asked,
Okay.
Tim, why am I getting this? And he said, oh, Xena's trying to track me because of stuff going on with her. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry about it. but I know for a fact he signed up for it because it came to his email through his phone number that he signed up for it. He has to download the app on the phone. So you see what I'm saying? So George didn't know he was trying to track him. Otherwise, he would have been like, hey, I'm tracking you because we talked about this before, remember?
Oh, okay, I see.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then he got that actual tracker and was using it, the one he put on the car.
Okay.
He was looking at that one on his phone.
Okay.
We had the app, and I can show every time he opened it, every single night from the night that he bought it up until the night of the murder. And he was looking at it the night of the murder before George got home. So he knew when George was going to be home because he was watching him on the map.
Okay, so. Oh, Jesus, wow. So did.
And before
So
that,
did somebody,
he
had somebody do it? I'm lost.
That's what I'm asking you.
Hell, I don't know. I have no idea.
If you look closely at Tia's face, you'll see her struggle to fake surprise after finding out about the trackers.
That, he was researching all kinds of poisonous things online. He researched black mamba venom, which is the most venomous snake in the world. You cannot buy their venom online like he was trying to, over 27 times. That's how many times he looked it up to try to find. He tried to find the venom, then he tried to find breeders where he could buy the snakes himself. You see how that looks? And then a week later, you buy a tracker to put on his car, and then I know that you're looking at it the night of the murder. And the first thing you did, instead of helping your friend, was run out to the car and take the tracker off? Who does that? You know what I'm saying? In front of a jury, when you look at that and say, what would a reasonable person do? No reasonable person would jump over a dead body or somebody who's dying to go pull something off a car. That would be the last of their worries.
Right.
So that's my question to you. Now, the problem is that now he's bringing you into it.
I have nothing to do with it and know nothing about it. That's what I'm saying.
So you called the insurance the very next day, right?
The next day or 2 days later, I can't remember.
So it was the next day. And do you see how that looks, though?
But my mom could tell you if you talk to her. She started bothering me that next morning.
Mm-hmm.
She said, Tia, you need to, do you have insurance? How are you going to do a funeral or anything? And I said, Mommy, and she could tell you if you call her right now before I can even reach her. I said, Mama, I can't deal with that now. I'll worry about that later. I said, I'm overwhelmed with what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kept saying it. And matter of fact, it was her and I'm not sure. It might have been even after George's mom and his
Why did
sisters
you want to
arrived.
call the insurance that soon, though, the very next day?
That's what I'm saying. My mom is the one that kept telling me I needed to call.
Okay.
She kept, because she knew I didn't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
She said, how are you going to do a funeral if you don't know if he has a policy?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Mama, I'll get to that in a couple of days. I said, right now I'm overwhelmed with what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
This was he died on Thursday. This was like Friday.
Mm-hmm.
When I had several people, like friends asking me, do you have insurance? Do we need to take up something for funeral? And I said, my mom keeps bugging me, but I haven't called yet.
Mm-hmm.
So then even Rob, when I talked to Rob said, do you know if Cuz had insurance?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know. Mommy keeps bugging me about calling. So that's when Rob said, well, let me look for the policy with you. And we'll call together before I leave.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't my first reaction. Like I said, you can call my mom right now, and she would tell you.
Okay.
She was the one egging me on that I needed to call because she was worried about funeral expenses. She knows she only gets $1,300 a month. She knows I didn't have a job. So her big thing was, what are we going to do about a funeral with no money? But after I called, she said it was effective. She said, I'm going to email you the papers I need to fill out. You can ask the lady. She emailed them, I think, to me on Friday. I didn't even print them off, I don't think, till like Saturday or Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Mommy kept asking me, have you filled the things out? Have you printed them? If you even call the insurance company, I don't think I sent them the stuff till the next week or a week and a half later. Because I wasn't in a rush because it's like I was too overwhelmed with everything that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I made maybe 3 calls, I think, to Mutual Omaha since then.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped calling. They told me about, 10, 11, 12 weeks ago, Miss Young, whenever you're cleared or whatever, we will call, send an email, and mail you something in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to keep calling. And I haven't called them since, and it's probably been close to 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, I just write it out of my head, and I've told numerous people who have said, did you get your life insurance? A lot of people don't know how much it is.
Mm-hmm.
But have you gotten your life insurance? I said no. It's still an investigation. I told them I haven't even called.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other things is that we get these Crime Stoppers tips.
Yes.
And both of these right here have him listed on it that people want us to look into him. You see what I'm saying? So
I see
it's
what you're
just
saying.
it's one thing after another.
I see what you're saying, but I can tell you I don't know nothing about it.
Okay.
I would never trade my husband's life ever for money. And I've made that comment to numerous of family members and friends, and I mean it. I really mean it. Because that doesn't replace him or my kids having a father.
Correct. So why do you think that Tim's going to be doing something like this?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. This is new to me. None of this makes any sense to me.
So
None of
you
it.
guys were, so what is he, so what about the part where he says that you and him have been in a relationship for a long time?
We have not. We've been in a very close friendship. He's like, we started off like, I mean, it's like we're brothers. First of all, it was like he was a stranger when he first came, because I haven't seen Tim probably in 15, 20 years since he was young. The longer he was there, because he is very quiet, we became close. But that I'm not understanding that either. I don't know.
In the first statement Tia gave to the police, she mentioned that Tim was her brother. However, she later revealed that Tim was not her brother, but rather a family friend who needed a place to live. She explained that she had referred to him as her brother because of their close relationship. When the detectives questioned Tim Lee, Tim too claimed only to have a platonic brother-sister relationship with Tia. The detectives suspect Tim and Tia were involved in a secret and sexual relationship, which served as a motive for the conspiracy to murder Tia's husband.
One of the things I talked to Zena, his ex, and she said that she had found out through him that he was seeing somebody named Tia, and that he had been calling around and he kept changing up which Tia it was. And then she called you one day when you and George were at a hotel or something like that and confronted you. Do you remember that?
She didn't call me and George at no hotel. She called my job. She called my the hospital that I work at, and asked me some questions. She asked me, was I Tia? She didn't ask Young. She said Tia. It was another last name she asked me. I can't remember what the girl's name was. And I said, no, but I'm Tia Young. And she said, do you know Tim? I said, yeah, Tim lives with us. So she said, oh, she said, so you're George's wife? I said, yes, I'm Tia Young. She said, do you know anything about a Tia, whatever the girl? Anyway, the girl worked for DeKalb County. She was a teacher or a band coach or something, I don't know. So she asked me some questions, and do I know anything about Tim and messing with this girl named Tia who worked for DeKalb? I said, no.
Okay. Do you know a Christy Lewis?
I've heard of Christy. I think it's one of Tim's friends from Mississippi or Alabama.
Okay. Because it looks like, I don't know. He was emailing her back and forth. He said, I apologize for everything. I wish all this could stop, but I feel like I'm going to end up dead over all of this. Sorry for getting you involved.
Yeah, I know. I never met her. I know he has a best friend, close friend named Christy.
Well, they've been talking more than that. They've been talking romantically.
Him and Christy?
Through the summer of last year.
Oh, okay.
There's another girl named Candy. Do you know Candy?
I've heard of Candace. I think that's a girl. Well, he had a girlfriend named Candace, I think, that he dated here, but then there's one from Myrtle Beach, I think.
Do you know she lives in Stone Mountain?
The Candace that I know lives in Georgetown and Myrtle Beach.
This one may have moved.
Could have.
But he was talking to her last summer, too.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I know he's got an ex named Candace, and then a girl from Myrtle Beach he used to kick it with named Candace. None of these girls I've ever met.
Okay. So, what do you say about the whole, him saying you and him have been in a relationship? I know I just asked you that, but why would he just come up with that to say that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea. Yes, we were close. Like I said, very, very close. And since George has died, we've come a little closer, but I think it's more so because he has, my boys really look up to him, because my kids, we don't have any family. They don't have any uncles. George has one brother that they met for the first time when George died. So they don't have any male figures, so they really look up to him. So now they call him Uncle Tim. My middle son even said to me, and I think I had a text message on my phone a few weeks ago, that he kind of looks up to Tim almost like a dad figure, because we don't have any men in our life. You know.
In his phone, he had you saved in his phone as Big Sis. You knew about that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is your phone from your phone. Why is he saved under Sonia under your phone, both of his phones?
That's just what I put in. His older sister name is Sonia.
And why would you do that, though? Unless you,
I
that
mean-
looks like you're trying to cover up him being in your phone, like you didn't want George or somebody to
Oh,
see it.
no, there's quite a few people in my phone that I don't have under the actual name.
Okay.
Just like Tia, Tim also deleted all of her sexualized emails with Tim. The emails were recovered by the detectives, which would come as a shock to both of them.
So one of the things that, like I told him is that when we took his phones, we could get everything that was done, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, I was able to retrieve everything that was off of his phone, okay? And so I have all of these emails that you sent him talking about yours and his sexual relationship. Do you remember those?
Yes.
Okay. So this is where we're at, Tia. Okay, I want you to listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know what's been going on. I know Tim's involvement. I also know there's a lot more that's been going on here, okay? What I want from you now is to understand all of this, because what it looks like is you're this hateful, horrible spouse that connived with your live-in boyfriend to kill your husband for money. If that's how it is, then that's fine. You can tell me that. But if that's not what happened, then this is your only chance to tell me what was really going on.
That's not what happened.
Then tell me this is your only chance to tell me what's really going on, because everything else looks really bad. And I'm telling you right now, if you put all of this in front of a jury without your explanation of it, that's exactly what they're gonna think.
I did not have anything to do with George's death.
Okay.
And definitely nothing dealing with him, wanting him dead for money. Nothing. At all.
Okay. So you're willing to let all of that stand in front of a jury?
Yes, as far as having anything to do with his death, yes, I am. I am. Because I know I had nothing to do with it. Nothing.
Just moments after the detective reveals to Tia that they have access to her own sexualized texts with Tim, if you look closely enough, you can visibly see Tia going red and panicking, having realized the situation she's in and likely thinking she should have come up with a much better story. The pressure within her is rising, and the detectives would only use this to their advantage. When the detectives showed Tim the same emails, he too entered a state of complete shock. He then exercised his right to plead the fifth, refusing to answer any questions without an attorney present.
Okay, but you've been having a relationship with Tim. What has he said to you?
He hasn't never said anything about wanting to hurt George ever or taking over the business. That's why I'm sitting here like, this is new to me. He's never said he wanted to take over Metro Atlanta Security. He's never told me he wanted George dead. He never said he was going to try to hurt George. Never. Not once.
All right. So George got home at 11:23, okay? And he had just gotten off the phone. And when he got off the phone, he came inside, or came to open the door. And that's when people remember hearing the shots around that same time, too, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The 911 call was not placed till 10 minutes later when you guys called. Now, in that time, I've gone over the story with you multiple times, and you've told me that he opened the door, he saw it was George and all of that. So I can tell you that when I go back and listen to the 911 call, that it is absolutely 100% completely staged. The things you told the dispatcher, you had already done and already said.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't, and I wasn't.
Why not?
Because he told me to call 911, and that's exactly what I did. And everything the lady
And
asked
then while
me.
you're on the phone with her, he says, oh, there's somebody got shot. And then he says, oh, can you send an ambulance? My brother now says it's my husband that was hit. But you already knew that.
I did. When I made the call, when he told me to call 911, the lady asked me, I said, I heard some shots. She asked me, I believe she asked me, I don't know, I think she might have asked me, did I know who it is or whatever. I don't remember. I don't remember all the details. But what I'm saying is, when I called, it was not staged. I called as soon as I heard the shots, went and found Tim. Well, what I thought at first was firecrackers. I wasn't sure what it was.
Okay.
And went and found Tim, and he checked and told me whatever the time frame was to call 911. That's what I did.
Okay.
I did not stage the conversation or any of that.
Okay. Well, talk to me about this then. How did this happen? How did you guys enter into this relationship while he's living in the house behind George?
I don't remember when it. I don't remember exactly when it started. I think it was around the time that I thought George was messing with the girl Mariah. I never had any real proof. I saw something on his tablet at one point, and I questioned him about it. He denied it. He said, he was not sleeping with her. She was just a secretary for him and Rob. I didn't have anything to worry about, but to me, I felt like it was more to it than that.
Okay. So you were pursuing this relationship because even in your emails, it sounds like Tim was trying to cut it off, and you were the one that was continuously talking to him and continuing it, right?
I was hurt about it, yeah, because I found out he was, you know, he had told me he wasn't talking to Zena anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't messing with, you know, anybody else anymore. Just kind of got caught in some lies, and I questioned him about it.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, these messages were in that phone, okay, the day that we went to go do the search warrant when you called Kim and told her to go get the phone. Is this what you were worried that we were going to find?
To be honest, yes.
Well, that's what I want is honesty.
To be
Kim.
honest, yes, I was.
Okay, because this looks really bad.
To be honest, yes, I was very afraid of
Okay.
that part, yes.
And you've been in this house and you've been living with him, and whether or not you guys are in a relationship, I don't know because I'm not in there anymore, but that's what it looks like. And I know that he's not just living in this house and nothing has been said. So if you know something, I need you to explain it to me and help me, because he's going to implicate you and he can take you down with him. Okay? And I don't think you want that. So that's
No,
why
I
I'm
don't.
telling you, what do you know? What has he said? What is going on?
Nothing as far as the murder of Mr. Smith. Nothing. I don't know that Tim had anything to do with it. He has not opened up, confessed nothing to me. Like I said, we discussed the tracker, I think, once, and that was the night after we left here, when you told me that somebody said they saw him getting it before they helped George or whatever it was. But as far as the case, we don't even discuss it. Like, there's very few times during the week that we even bring it up. I don't even like talking about it to my mom. I'm trying to move on as far as me and my youngest child. My older two are doing fine. My youngest one is not. So as far as the case, I don't even talk to him much about the case.
Well, let me just go over some of the issues because I got to understand what's going on, okay? The white SUV thing that you guys had talked about, I asked Rob about it. I've asked a bunch of other people about it. Nobody else knew that but you and him. See, that's information that's sending me down, we'll say, a wrong trail that was only coming from you and him. So that makes it look like you guys are in something together, okay? Every time that I've talked to you, it's kind of been a different story about what happened that night. And I understand it can be traumatic, but when things like this happen, people don't forget those kinds of things. So that also makes it look like, because what he told me where he saw you that night and what happened was not true. And what you told me that you saw him, it was always different. I just don't understand that, okay? Obviously him going out and getting a tracker and that kind of stuff, it's just not right. The fact that he had $1 million life insurance policy and you called the next day. One point you told me that you went to wake up your mom and you were on the catwalk with her and...
No, she was never asleep. I never...
Well, okay, no, wait, you went to go get your mom and you brought her on the catwalk with you. One time you said you stood out there, you talked to her, that's what I can hear in the 911 call. The time before that, you said you took her into your bedroom and put her in the closet so she wouldn't wake up your kids.
When she started having a breakdown, yeah, I took her in the
Okay,
closet.
she told me that didn't happen.
She told you what? Did she have a
She
breakdown?
told me she never went into your room and went into the closet. This whole gun running thing, okay, I looked into it. You gave me a totally different story than he did. You said it was some Cuban guy named Carlos. He said it was Terrence Bannerman, the pudding guy that you grew up with. I found Terrence. I know that stuff's not true.
The Carlos guy
Okay,
is
but
true.
why would you tell me Carlos and he brings up some guy? Those are not even related at all.
I have no idea. The only thing I can tell you is about the Hispanic-looking guy that came to the house looking for him. And when I didn't call George right away, I didn't even text him. I waited till he got home that night, and I told him about the guy coming by. George's eyes got real big. He looked at me, and I asked him, what in the world is this about? Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. It's somebody I got some financial help from. Don't worry about it. And then I said, George, you need to tell me, because this guy said he means business. Is this something, are you into something that would jeopardize us? What's going on? And he just said something to the fact, he said, I'm just running weapons or delivering weapons or something like that. He said, but you don't need to worry
And so
about
then
it.
every time after that, when I asked you, is there any reason anybody would want to hurt him, you never mentioned it until we brought it up to you.
Yeah, that night when he was killed, I didn't think of it.
Why would you not think about somebody coming to your house, asking for money, looking for your husband, talking about running guns?
But it was 2 or 3 months before that. I didn't think of it at all.
Okay. How come that most of the messages and phone calls from you and Tim are deleted in your phone, but they're all in his?
Were you talking about the phones you have? Yeah, I would delete them. I would periodically delete them.
Okay.
There's even another coworker that I talked to that I would delete the calls from.
All right. And that night, you gave your middle son the Unisom, correct?
Yeah, but I give him, he gets that a couple times.
Yeah,
Maybe.
well, he had before, but when we spoke to him, he said he hadn't gotten it in a long time, and that was the very first night he'd gotten it in a long time, in over a month.
It had probably been a couple of weeks, I guess.
You see what I'm saying though? That night, the night that he normally goes out in the middle of the night between 9 and midnight is the night your husband comes home at 11 p.m. and gets killed. It makes it look like you gave it to him so that he wouldn't wake up during that time period.
Tia admitted to giving one of her sons, Destin, the sleeping pills the night of the father's death, and that she had been giving him in the past to help him stay asleep at night. But what's interesting is that she had not given him any in months, as he says when interviewed. She claims the other two were not given anything that could affect their sleep. But here's what one of them, Dylan, had to say about it.
On Thursday, did you hear anything, or tell me about kind of what happened Thursday night? What time did you go to bed?
Well, look, like me and my brother, like ever since we start school, we always been going to bed 11 or 12, like every night.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one night we go to bed, I went to bed at like 9. Cause I was like, all right, I'll get up early. I was real tired, so I was like, I'm gonna get up early. I'm gonna get up like 4, finish the rest of my homework. But I'm gonna go to sleep now. So I went to sleep at like 9.
Mm-hmm.
My brother went to sleep not too long after me. So I was like, yeah, it was just gone. Like I was talking to my girlfriend and that's it. Like, that's it. Like I just went to sleep. He was gone, and then they woke me up at like 5 something. I don't even know.
Okay.
The detectives suspect Tia had given all of her sons sleeping pills the night of the killing, not just the middle one.
And it's also weird that we're there, the ambulance comes, the police come, we walked in their rooms and went everywhere, and none of them woke up in any of that.
But I asked. Me and my mom both asked everybody that came in the house. My mom, she was the first one that started asking, please be quiet. My grandchildren are asleep. My daughter doesn't want the kids to wake up.
I know, but the ambulance and everybody coming in and out, and none of them ever woke up.
But
that's the first night he got that pill? You see what I mean?
It's not the first time he had it. That's what I'm saying.
In a while.
It had been a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But I don't give it to the oldest one, and I don't give it to the baby. Well, I've had to start giving it to the youngest one now to be able to get some sleep. Mm-hmm. Either Benadryl, I'll give him Benadryl, or either a Unisom. He doesn't get it every night, but he can't sleep since George died. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my middle son is the only one that will walk and pace the house 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then don't want to get up for school the next day. Mm-hmm. My oldest one, I don't think I've ever had to give him anything for sleep. But he slept through everything because we were quiet. We asked the police would they be quiet as much as possible. When some guy came around, he had to take pictures of the rooms. I asked him, was there any way he could not go in that room where the boys...
But why was that your concern? Even on the 911 call, you tell them don't come lights and sirens. Your husband is laying out on the front porch dying, and you're worried about the kids waking up?
I didn't want my kids to see my husband bleeding to death on the front porch, Mr. Smith.
I understand that to an extent, but I just think you would be worried about him and not... I mean, your kids are going to find out.
I wanted her to send help, but I didn't want her to... If my kids had saw their dad laying in the front doors dead, I didn't want them to have that picture in their mind. Mm-hmm. I feel like any mom would have done, just like my mom did it for me. When my dad committed suicide in 2007, I was upstairs asleep. He hung himself in the basement. Mm-hmm. She let me sleep upstairs and did not wake me up until she was hoping he would be removed from the basement before they woke me up. But I ended up waking up on my own because of the commotion. Mm-hmm. But that's the same thing my mom did for me, and I was a grown woman, but she didn't want me to wake up and see my dad hanging in the basement. And I was in my 30s when he died.
Tia's request seems to be reasonable and in the best interest of her children, as no mother would want their kids to wake up in the middle of the night to a disturbing scene like that. But to the detectives, it's obvious begging the police to turn off their sirens isn't for the safety of her children, but to cover up for the pills they had been given. So the detectives would not suspect why her children slept through the entire commotion.
Yes, I will admit, and I apologize for lying, I am very embarrassed about this. I really am. Mm-hmm. I am.
And you guys are still in a relationship now?
Yes, to be honest, yes. I'm just going to be honest.
Well, yes. That's what I want. Because listen, Tia, I'm telling you this is how it looks, and I keep telling you this. He's going to try to take you down with him. And I'm telling you, when he gets up there and he starts talking about everything and what you did, and you don't have anything to counter that, and you don't have a way to say, no, that's BS because this is actually what happened, and this is what he told me, or that's right there is going to be a huge issue. You see what I'm saying? Are you ready to go to jail today for this?
No, because I know I'm guilty of this,
then
and this is wrong.
Then tell me, there's no way he's been living under your roof and you've been in a relationship and you don't know that something was happening.
As far as this, you talking about hurting George or having a sexual... No, that part I don't.
Tia,
that part I don't.
Way.
That part I don't. The sex part, the affair, I'm very, very embarrassed. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how embarrassed I am. I really am. I'm sorry that I never told you.
So much that you continued it past your husband dying?
The first 2 months we did. It started back up around the 1st of March. The first couple of months we didn't. We called it, we just stopped because I'm gonna tell you the truth, I was afraid that my boys would end up picking up on something is wrong or catching us kissing or something. So we both said the boys have been through enough and I didn't want to chance them seeing anything inappropriate to send them off. Because I'm sure it would hurt them deeply that I'm talking to Tim and Daddy's just not too long ago died. So I think it might have been like the middle of February or 1st of March when we kind of gotten talk, kind of get romantic again. But up until then, no.
Okay. So you don't know anything about
nothing about the crime. I do not know nothing.
I'm telling you, Tia, he's gonna take you down in a ball of fire with him.
Well, he'll be doing it with a bunch of lies because I had the sexual relationship. I will admit, I'm embarrassed to stand before a jury to admit it, but if I have to, I have to. I mean, it happened. I lied about it, and I'm sorry. I mean, it was embarrassing, and I did. But as far as the murder, I ain't got shit to do with it. Don't know nothing about it. Had nothing to do with it. Nothing. I know nothing about it. Nothing.
And you never suspected him in all of this?
No, not until y'all brought up the night you had come in on the 18th, and y'all kept saying he took the tracker off that night. Like I said, I wasn't quite aware that it was before the CPR, and I think y'all told me.
I think it was all. That's what I'm telling you. It was all done before. I think you even knew or came downstairs. If that's what happened.
I don't understand. Like, was his weapon used in it?
Maybe. That's why I want to know.
I have no idea.
Because I don't want him to take you down with him and make you out to be this horrible monster if there's something that you know and you're just wanting to protect him.
No,
this is not the time.
Nope, there's nothing. The only thing, like I said, that I have to admit now to the world, I guess, is the affair.
Well, I just want you. I don't want you to protect him.
I'm not protecting him. I have to own the things that I'm guilty of. I will own it at this point. The affair, I'm very embarrassed, and I know my mom and my children would be very hurt by it. But if it has to come out, it has to come out. But anything beyond a freaking affair, that's it. That's the only thing I'm guilty of is having an affair. Yes, and I'm not belittling it like it's nothing. I know that's a big thing. So I'm not saying it like, oh, that's all I did, but that is the only damn thing I'm guilty of, is that. That is it. And is it wrong? Is it dirty? Is it treacherous? Yes. But I will own it. That is what happened.
Okay.
And if I need to, I mean, you have to tell me, do I need to go ahead and tell my children about their affair?
I don't tell your children. That's not my job. I don't tell people that.
Okay. I didn't know whether I needed to go home and go ahead and tell them.
I don't.
Now, will you be telling,
that.
I know you, it's up to you whether you tell me or not. Will you be telling his mom and his sisters about it?
About the affair?
Yes.
I don't discuss those types of things. If he was charged or somebody's charged him, then I will tell him, hey, so-and-so's been charged in the murder, but I'm not going to go divulge everything.
Because I prefer, if you're going to tell him, I'd rather tell him first.
Okay.
That's the one I'm asking.
All right. Let me go talk to him again, okay?
Facing the collapse of her story, Tia attempts to use her children as a shield. Tia's priority remains the preservation of her image. She tries to rebrand her months of deceit as a maternal sacrifice, framing her lies not as a cover for murder, but as a misguided effort to keep her family intact. However, this sudden appeal to emotion is easily dismantled. The detectives bring the interrogation to a decisive end, as they have what they needed from Tia to move forward, and have had enough of her disgusting lies.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you need right now?
No, but I'm going to have to, my son needs to get to practice at 5:30.
Okay. All right.
With Tim refusing to change his statement, Tia is taken into custody.
All right, listen. I went and talked to Tim some more, okay? Obviously his story's not changing, okay? He's implicating you and he's bringing you into this and all that kind of stuff, okay? So unfortunately you are gonna have to go to jail tonight, okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right. Can I call my mom?
Well, let me ask them and see what they want to do, and I'll let you know right quick, okay?
All right.
Just wait right here for a second.
Okay.
All right, Tia, if you could stand up for me, please. Okay. Turn and face the wall. If you want to take off your visitor pass, Alright. You don't have anything in your pockets, do you?
My keys.
Your keys? Okay. Where's your cell phone?
It's in the car.
In the car? Okay. If you wanna just put your hands on the wall, that's fine. I don't know much about what's going on, okay, but I know if you have anything on you that could be deemed a weapon or anything like that, you could get in more trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have anything on you?
No.
Not even like a dime bag weed or nothing like that?
No.
Okay. Separate your feet for me.
Okay.
Okay. If you want to put your hands behind your back, over your, yeah. I will get you a bag, and put all your property in it.
Alright.
What'd you say your name was, man?
Tia.
Tia.
It's the children of George Young who suffered the most due to this incident. They lost both their parents, and as for the insurance money, it was withheld by the company, and they did not receive a cent. Tia even cut off their aunt and George's sister, Ivy Young, from the children's lives for accusing her of murder. 2 years later, on April 15, 2019, their father's killers were brought to justice. They were both sentenced to life in prison. Tia was given a chance for parole, but her lover, Tim Lee, was not. Ivy was let back into the lives of her nephews, and the 3 children now stay with their maternal grandmother, Linda, who takes care of them.